Despite what you may have seen on TV, lawsuits are never fun. They take a lot of time and money, but there are ways you can speed things up, like settling out of court. Or if you want to follow the example of one small Alabama town, you can speed up the legal proceedings by staging an elaborate heist. Idea for a fun history story: the night that Bay Minette stole the county seat from Daphne, literally. That question, well, that's not really a question, but that idea was submitted to Ask Alabama by Timothy Williamson. A brief disclaimer: this story's been told by many different people on different sides of the issue, which means there are different versions of what exactly happened, but this, as far as I can tell, is what went down. Back in the 1890s, a man named J.D. Hand started up a timber yard in the middle of Baldwin County, and over the years acquired a few thousand acres of land he planned to develop into a town. That town would be Bay Minette, Alabama. But key to J.D. Hand's plan working was making Bay Minette the county seat of Baldwin. Now, if you don't know what a county seat is, it's basically the capital of the county. It's where the county commissioners meet and where the sheriff's office is and where the county jail and courthouse are. And in those days, when travel could take a while, being the county seat meant a lot of lawyers and politicians and upper crusty folks would be visiting your town frequently, if not just outright moving there. Now, in the 1890s, while J.D. Hand was setting up Bay Minette, the seat of Baldwin County was Daphne, Alabama. It was chosen after the Civil War because it was along the waterway, which made travel a little easier from some places in the county, and because the old county seat, Blakely, had basically been Civil Warred out of existence. However, with the rise of train travel across the state, getting to more landlocked portions of the county became easier, and J.D. Hand used this to convince state lawmakers and citizens of the county to move the county seat to Bay Minette, which was more centrally located. In the year 1900, the state legislature approved this move, and the folks of Bay Minette got to work building a courthouse. In 1901, when the county courthouse was finished, the people of Bay Minette reached out to Daphne to have the county court records shifted over to the new courthouse. And the people of Daphne said no. Daphne didn't want to lose its position as the county seat and filed for a permanent injunction to block the move. Now, J.D. Hand could have just been patient and waited for the matter to be resolved in the courts, but the wheels of justice turn slow, and he wanted the county seat now. So he came up with another plan. If Daphne wasn't willing to give us the court records, let's just go steal them. I like where that dude's head was at. In October of 1901, J.D. Hand got a couple dozen guys together from Bay Minette with guns and tools for breaking into the records room and made an overnight ride to Daphne. They arrived at night, camped outside of the city, and in the early morning hours made their move. The Bay Minette group went to the sheriff's office / courthouse / jail, it was all one building, with a teenager they had apprehended. This kid was wanted for breaking into houses. They knocked on the sheriff's door, and when he answered, they brought the teenager in, along with all the guys that had come from Bay Minette. The sheriff was like, "Thanks for the arrest, but you guys gotta get out of here." And the men of Bay Minette said something to the effect of, "Afraid not, dude, we're not leaving without the records." Now, the sheriff, being one guy facing down a small army, was understandably flummoxed. He threatened them with arrest, but they still wouldn't leave. So he managed to just lock them up in jail. What the sheriff didn't do was take away their tools. So after the men were put behind bars, they just got to work deconstructing the jail. Once they were out, they spent the next few hours packing up the courthouse onto wagons and eventually headed home. This heist really happened. They even painted a mural about it inside the Bay Minette post office. Now, with all the records gone and no real other options, the county judge just moved to Bay Minette and set up shop there. But the people of Daphne weren't going to just take this lying down, and they continued to try to get the courthouse returned. But after a year and a half in courts, judges eventually ruled that the theft of the courthouse documents was legal, because when it happened, a judge had yet to rule on the permanent injunction. So the men of Bay Minette were legally in the right when they stole the court, and the legal fight over the location of the county seat was officially settled. Now, as I've said, there are competing versions of this story. Some folks in Daphne will claim that the Bay Minette crew arrived loaded for war because they were so scared of the people of Daphne, and that they tricked the sheriff out of the courthouse with a fake murder. Some folks in Bay Minette say it really wasn't that dramatic. They claim the judge and the sheriff were in on it from the start, and they just waltzed in and grabbed the records. Heck, if you ask different people what J.D. Hand's real name is, some will tell you James D. Hand, and other people will tell you John D. Hand. But the version I told you came from a historian who based his account on court records, which is why I'm inclined to believe it. Anyway, with the matter settled and the city established, J.D. Hand sold off his interest in his new town, making a tidy profit, and headed off for the next stage of his life, which I presume involved stealing the Declaration of Independence because there was a secret treasure map on the back.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be provided are greater than the legal services of other lawyers.
Yeah, they're all the same.
My name is Harry Steele. I'm a retired lawyer down in Daphne, Alabama. Of course, that's not where I am today. I'm joined by Brandon Mosley, reporter and content manager at the Alabama Gazette. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing great. Harry, how are you?
I'm good, and we have our returning champion, and I'll admit you're my favorite guest, Professor of Economics John Sophocleus. How are you, John?
You must say that to everybody. I'm
I
just a
don't.
lonely instructor.
So, in entertaining these opinions, we avow ourselves open to the conviction of error and pledge ourselves to maturely weigh. Let's see if I can get this thing out of my way. Any and all arguments which may be brought against the scheme, and if satisfied that our views of its tenacity is erroneous, we will retrace our steps and abandon our position. If proclaiming this determination, we may say that we shall not yield to denunciation, verbatim, or abuse, believing that our scheme of grave public injury may be shown to be such by the use of sound and decorous argument, which we desire no other and can reply to no other, but shall endeavor to sustain our position by its aid on our part until candid investigation shall pronounce the position no longer tenable. And that was said by Judge Charles Hall, my great-great-grandfather, in 1855.
I love it, but why did you leave out the vituperative?
I couldn't pronounce it. I'm glad you filled in there for me, though. I should have just asked you to read it. So, don't you think that that's one of the most elegant things you've ever read or had read to you? I think it is.
Amen. I think it should be read before every session of Congress.
And Brandon and I we were talking about how everybody thinks they're so smart, and I said, yeah, no, you know who was smart? Howell Effin Heflin, who merged law and equity with a secretary and a typewriter in 1973 when he was our Chief Justice. That's who was smart. We're a bunch of idiots compared to these people. And you don't think so, Brandon?
We are in an era where we get flooded with, mailers that are obviously generated by AI telling us that this candidate is tough on crime, supports Trump, and opposes illegal immigration. And this is supposed to convince us to elect somebody, anything from senator to county commissioner. And yes, obviously our leaders don't think we're very smart, or that we wouldn't send us most of the nonsense that they send us.
So another thing that we need to get out of the way, all three of us are Auburn men. Yes, we love Auburn. We all have our antennas up and agree something is terribly wrong with our board of directors who have to hire Matrix LLC to give them political consultation when you got three states. They had it for 2.5 years until we raised hell about it and told them we wanted a copy, and then they dropped it. So the question is, so let's talk about who the board members are. You got the Yellowwood fella, billionaire, richest guy in
Alabama.
Okay, well, who in the hell do you think he needs any political advice from? Then you got Governor Ivy, like she needs some political advice. Robert Adderholt's wife,
Quentin Riggins.
Quentin Riggins. These guys need political advice. So the Auburn greed, when I read this a couple of years ago, just knocked me on my ass. And I said, there's somebody else out there that gets this. And if it were an island, they'd have sunk it. It's like down here, we're trying to see how much shit we can squeeze on this postage stamp that is Auburn, Alabama, that is our campus. When is when I got there, the Louder Business Building was there. And then there was the drill field, and mine was the first fraternity house on Old Road. Do you know that damn drill field is now a parking deck? Where do they drill? Is the guard just a bunch of, are they flying drones and shit around? Where do they drill? There's no drill field. There's no nothing. Well, I just wanted to give you props that, we found, I know Brandon and you go way back, but I found you through your activism, which of course landed you in a world of you know. So let's talk a little bit about economics, because I read this book in 1997, and all the conspiracy hoople heads are pointing to this and saying, see, this is who's been in charge of our finances all this time, which they ain't wrong. But I think the important part to this book is when Bill Clinton was inaugurated, he said, I want to thank my mother and I want to thank Carol Quigley. So this book is a consolidation of all his lectures. And of course, Bill Clinton had him before he wrote this book. So he had this information because and he says, hey, you know, this Rhodes Scholarship created by the most evil sumbitch in the world, this is how they recruit people to their evil organization. So what does Clinton do? He immediately applies to be a Rhodes Scholar. He doesn't avoid them, right? So you have Quigley's, what I would say, what I learned in macro and microeconomics, you know, in college is kind of, he follows the beat of that drummer. And then we have here in Auburn, Alabama, has nothing to do with the school, the Mises Institute. And aren't you a fellow there? Aren't you a something there?
I'm a something there. I'm sort of a quasi stand-in instructor for the few things I know well.
Well, and so I don't want to get into Keynesian economics versus what, you know, the Austrian theory and all that. But if anybody wants to go down that rabbit hole, I'm sure John has done many podcasts where they talk about that. I just wanted to let everybody know that, you know, you're not some crazy old man who's drinking shinny up there, living in a cardboard box. You have bona fide. And we want to talk to you about our election down here in Baldwin County, because you have some experience with some of these people. So guess who our county manager is? Your former county manager. Roger Rendleman. Check that out. So there's old Rendleman. He's he's at the Paris Air Show with all our economic developers. There's a close up. And you can see here, this is his this is his LinkedIn, is public. So anyway, here's where he used to work. Is that a shocker? He started with the Examiners of Public Accounts.
Well, yeah. And you know, he had to come to Lee County to get the big bucks, and then once he trumped up his RSA retirement check, he could come back down to y'all, right?
I guess so. And I didn't know he was in Lee County for 20 years.
That's how you trumped up your retirement.
Okay, so this is what's funny. The guy that was his predecessor was John Dendy, and he and I started the Alabama City County Managers Association. And guess who is the president of that this year? Roger Rendleman. I started in 2006 with his predecessor from Lee County. So anyway, I thought we would talk about what was the deal. He hired an EMA director, and they went and bought a truck and didn't get a bid or something. I mean, like,
I don't remember if it was a truck or one of those, you know, highfalutin RTV 4-wheeler things. But I mean, what irony! Roger Rendleman, who couldn't follow the law and do a proper change order and all that, is busting the chops of somebody who's doing it for chunk change in comparison.
Right. So anyway, this is just the kind of horse manure you'd expect out of you know, college town bullcrap. Anyway, yeah, we already covered that. So then they renovated the Lee County Courthouse while he was there, and there was all kinds of horse shit went down with that. Is my understanding. Absolutely. And then of course another thing I wanted to show everybody is that I was looking up this thing about this EMA director getting fired, and guess who was at the meeting raising hell about rubbish and what does it say? Address the commission, encouraging them to address a garbage dump somewhere in the county. So yeah, you go to the commission meetings. You've been there for 20 years with Roger Rendleman.
I believe I've witnessed more commission meetings than anybody who's on the dais, including the chair.
So, and I mean, how in the world can we ask people to vote for the incumbents down here in Baldwin County? So now I'm going to show you the invisible man, Jay Dixon, our planning director, right?
Oh, perfect.
So here's what Jay, so when he first gets, hired, he goes out and says, here's what to expect from growth in Baldwin County. In other words, shelter in place, you little peasants. The people with real money are coming to town. Dolly Parton is going to build a damn Dollywood down here. I mean, we're going to have a NASCAR track before it's over with. So anyway, here's where, Jay tells us, to bend over and bite the pillow. And then here's, of course, this is what's going to get everybody defeated in Baldwin County. So our legislative delegation got with all these people in the Stockton community, and they amended the Constitution of 1901 to create the Stockton Landmark District. And inside this boundary, no one can ever annex into a city, nor can the county zone it. So when the solar farm comes in, they go, oh, we're protected. No, you have no zoning. It's what Harry told you 12 years ago. It does the opposite of what you think.
Amen.
And the idea that Greg Albritton didn't know about a project this big, and then it got slipped through the Public Service Commission, and that they hadn't been here for 3 years talking to economic development folks, you need to you don't need to vote for not one incumbent. Not
Well,
one.
We do not make endorsements. The Yabum Gazette makes no endorsements, does not tell people how to vote.
Okay,
Vote for
so
incumbents
look.
if you want to.
So when the new commission came in 2010, riding the coattails of all this developer money, right?
Stealing the state house years?
They threw in the garbage our comprehensive plan that we spent 5 years and $400,000. Fired all the planning staff. Poor old Vince Jackson, the old band director, was the damn county planner by himself for 10 years. Anyway, they finally, and here's the funny thing, they revert back to the subdivision regulations that were in force when my grandfather, Harry Sr., was on the goddamn county commission in 1981. So when they updated them, they said, oh, shit, we got to put curb and gutter in and sidewalks and lamp posts. This is going to cost way more money. Well, no kidding. Yeah, we've updated things since 81. So Jay is one of the ones that goes in because where did he used to work? And you see here it says he gets the job, and he's on the Southern Rural Planning Organization, which I don't know what they do. I go over there all the time. There's never a planner around when I ask for one. But anyway, he's on that board with Billy Joe. And then, of course, he used to be the planning manager, I guess, for the city of Gulf Shores. That's my old gig. And guess where he started out? Vice president of Volkert. Could you have a bigger fox in the hen house watching the development for the He's friends with all of them.
Harry, let me put you on pause for a second. How is Rendleman's relationship with the county highway engineer?
It is, so I know Frank Lundy. I hunt with him. I grew up with him. He's a damn good engineer, and he could borrow my lawnmower. You know what I mean? But they put him in the worst position. I'm just cringing when they ask him, and I'm going, oh, hell, they're putting him on the spot. And he just has to say,
please don't let Rendleman pollute him.
Well,
that was the source of the problem in Lee County. And I don't know if it's the same thing down there, but he's the one who rubber stamps whether they follow the subdivision rules and access management policies and all that others. At one time.
And when I represented a group recently they were putting a big subdivision in next to Judge Doleave's house. And of course, he couldn't get involved. So the neighbors came to me, and who did I have to deal? Frank Lundy agreed. I said, the damn site distance and the green book and all. And he goes, yes. Okay. When the planning staff had been going, oh, well, this looks like it meets all the criteria. Okay. So Lundy's not a BSer. He's got to live with whatever gets put in. And if a bunch of people get killed at that intersection, that's him, right? He doesn't give a damn.
If he cares.
So we got one guy. It's kind of like Kent Davis working at the Veterans Affairs. We had one guy that was worth shit. You fired him. So yeah, let's not get the new commissioners hang on to Lundy. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that goes on every day. All these people in this nice neighborhood got a 215 lot subdivision of little Cracker Jack houses going in behind them. And nothing we can do. It's allowed by right. So anyway,
we nailed Rendleman and the highway engineer, and it was East Lake subdivision. And you have to do a traffic study. And if it exceeds 100 vehicles per day, you have to put up a bond so that you incur the cost of bringing in this subdivision, right? So the developer, who is trying to get it under 100 vehicles per day, couldn't get anybody who would sign off on anything less than 146 vehicles per day. So they have to put up the bond. My county uses its own dollars to do its own traffic study, and magically, it's 97 vehicles per day. Release the bond. So, and I love that you use the Green Book, right? I mean, that's kind of the Bible on how you do a traffic study.
Anybody that knows anything and has been sitting in as many meetings as you have seen them pull it out. I mean, I used to be a county manager. How in the hell do I not know? You know what I mean? How they gonna argue with me? It's pretty tough.
The traffic study is so flawed, we go after the engineer's bond. Well, the chair and Rendleman are shaking their head like, a bond? Yes, the law says he's supposed to be bonded. So they can't produce the bond, Harry. Well, the rest of the law says that if you can't produce the bond, that official has to vacate their office. So me and my eldest godson that are pressing all this stuff, he's a JD, we're accused of wanting to destroy this poor young man and he'd lose his job. Yes, I want folks who do fraudulent traffic studies and put people's lives in jeopardy to lose their job. Call me funny.
Yeah, I want to know when I drive over that bridge behind that dump truck that we're not going for a swim.
Amen.
Right? It's just, there's certain things you can't steal from, which they found out in New Orleans with all the levee shit where they were building softball stadiums and stuff instead of maintaining the levees. So anyway, this is who's in charge around here, and I'm going to tell y'all all about it, okay? So 68 Ventures employs 12 people whose full-time job it is to develop land in Baldwin County and other places, okay? I'll admit, and other places. But they have a big 3-story building in downtown Daphne, and they all drive around in Porsches and, the Billionaire Boys Club shit. So anyway, and they also challenge themselves in all things. So you've heard of the Mobile Bowl or the Senior Bowl or whatever it is, where all the senior football players get to come play. Well, now it's the 68 Ventures Bowl. And here they're hosting 700 people at a casino to invest in their company. Yeah. So then we got the other people that are in charge, the people that make all the density possible. And this, Miss Station, they had to expand the sewer to get the density, right? So we have a private sewer. Yeah, you can't believe it. And of course, this is the Ethics Commission saying, hey, it appears Commissioner Dorsey still works for them and can't vote on stuff anymore. You can't believe this stuff, man. So anyhow, let's talk a little bit about the election. And while we're talking utilities, have you ever seen a knee-jerk reaction from an administration like happened when Jim Ziegler started polling that he was going to be on the PSC? I mean, you'd have thought, right? So then they run out.
Amendment 14.
Look, there's a picture of him at 14.
Oh my gosh. Amendment 14, a bunch of our folks got together for all these pieces of legislation that were wrongfully passed that would have to be revisited. So Ziegler's part of the cadre of people that say, after all that hard work is done, we're just going to rubber stamp it in retrospect. How am I supposed to take Ziegler seriously?
Like I said, the court jester becomes the knight we always prayed for. So anyway, then we have like a knife fight at the Tuscaloosa GOP back a couple of weeks ago. And of course, these are your current folks.
Actually, Twinkle is gone. She now works for
No,
Rural
Twinkle's
Development.
gone. That's right.
That's right.
It's-
Cynthia
And so-
Allman is the president.
And so
now.
here's what I was talking about, though, the freezing electric rates, and there's now going to be like a cabinet level position person who's going to be in charge of the electricity and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they
Um,
froze the rates at the current rates, which is the highest rates in the second highest rates in the country. Of course, Avon Power is willing to freeze the rates for 3 years. It's like, who's writing this
said, Brandon.
legislation? We're freezing the rates. It's like, what? So the new commission can't go in and lower the rate.
Oh God.
Or have a rate study, because it wouldn't matter because you can't change the rate. So why have a rate study? Why make them show us their books?
You can't change it. You know, hey.
So just some rapid fire stuff that I thought you would find amusing. Did you know that Trump fired the entire National Science Board?
I did not.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
and then that night somebody tried to kill him at the press corps dinner. I'm the only person that thinks they're connected. And then he said, "Oh, if I only had a ballroom."
It's a screen. Where did you get that cartoon?
And then there's the I survived the correspondence dinner. She's already selling T-shirts. And then we get to my man that I want to move to Kentucky so I can vote for him.
Yeah, I'm voting against Massey if I have a vote there. Goodbye, Massey.
Mm-hmm. That's because you're an always Trumper. I'm a sometimes Trumper, except when he doesn't do what he says. Anyway, they've spent a pile of money trying to beat his ass. The Supreme Court Monday was
$35 million. Of course, that's
Geo-
less than what the gamblers have spent in Alabama trying to buy the legislature.
And rising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 45 million Friday. Don't tell them what it's going to be by this time tomorrow.
So the Supreme Court's trying to decide if the cops, if there was like a shooting in Auburn and they wanted to know everybody that was there at a particular time, they can just go in a computer system and draw a lasso around it and get all the metadata and then come track you down and beat your door down, even though because you were just driving by. No, I think we should get a warrant, don't you? I mean,
How clumsy of you.
wow.
It's the Constitution.
So anyway, another reason I like Massey is, they slipped this in on us. There's going to be a kill switch in all the new cars that are made after 2027. So the cops, they don't have to chase you anymore. They don't have to shoot you with the Batman piton like they do down here in Baldwin County. They just can
I
shut it
vowed not
off.
to own a vehicle from this century. And I've made it 26 years.
Let's move to Cuba. Get us a 1956 Chevrolet.
Amen.
So we just got some candidate stuff. Babyface. And of course, this was a recent. Somebody actually started a whole website dedicated to how our judges are scamming the appointment system. Like, this judge got elected. He's got 5 years left of a 6-year term. So he picks his successor and has the governor appoint him. Well, that's not democracy. That's the Baldwin Beat is that new website. So anyway, here is kind of how I think this thing is going to shake out. Or if you're looking for some advice, of course, Brandon is staying out of this. And
Brandon does not make endorsements. The Alabama Gazette does not make endorsements.
yes.
We want the political advertising money from everybody.
So anyway,
Republicans,
Pat,
Democrats, libertarians.
so and what I'll say
out
is
of state gambling money. We really don't care.
well,
It all spends the same. Huh?
as an attorney, if you care about having a real attorney as your attorney general, as opposed to a puffy political cutout, you should vote for Pam Casey. She was one of my professors at Birmingham School of Law. And when you remember when Stephen King got kicked off the bench and it was a big secret what was going on, she's the DA in that county, and she kind of said, Harry, you don't need to come back up here for about another 6 months. There won't be another judge.
She's come and spoke to the Republican Assembly here in Lee County, done a splendid job both times. I really am impressed with her.
So we did a whole podcast about why you shouldn't vote for Christy Haygood because she apparently used AI in a Rule 32 response, or either she's the worst lawyer alive because she hallucinated herself about 5 different facts. So vote for Jeremiah Giles there. And then, of course, Babyface Scully is prosecuting me on Thursday. And of course, my right to a speedy trial got hung because he had the need to go, campaign. So we set my trial at the end of the trial, the jury term, when I could have had this over with 2 weeks ago. But of course, that would have interfered with his campaign. So, I've already said
the Constitution again, Harry. The 6th Amendment. Are you kidding me?
the 4th, yeah. So again, these are just a couple of folks that are that I think people should consider voting for as opposed to their opponents. Let's see here. Oh, the sheriff race. Geez Louise. If we could just please elect Matt McKenzie, I'll leave the county. Dr. Stuart Tankersley, I don't know if you've talked to him, but they forced him out of the Alabama National Guard because he wouldn't take the jab, and the governor didn't listen to a damn thing he had to say anyway.
Okay.
And so are you familiar with a Giglio list?
No.
So each district attorney in their county is supposed to keep a list of like bad cops that have perjured themselves or cheated on their wives or whatever the reason is. You just can't call them to the stand anymore. And of course, we don't have one, even though we've had cops, evidence goes missing. They've perjured themselves in my presence during a deposition with me. You know what I'm saying? Just a Brady list for bad cops is, and we had an Epstein list. Yeah. So again, the trial of the century is Thursday, courtroom number 8. Be there, be square, Brandon Mosley. And of course, that's me. That's me worn out and covered in salty sweat from standing out on the street corner, flipping a sign for the guy who is our mayor currently. And of course, that's my dog that was abused, hanging out with one of the witnesses in my trial.
I'll be
like one of the witnesses actually knows my dog. And just a couple other things. The reason that nobody has any faith in Alabama is because of stuff like this. The Ethics Commission director being involved in this Mabel Amos Trust. And of course, you know who sued him, don't you? Moi. Me.
That's right.
Writ of mandamus against Tom Albritton. Oh, well, I was the attorney. See, Mr. Ripp was the plaintiff. So, yeah, I kind of like that. So my great-great-grandfather's brother, Woodrow Wilson, was the grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan here in Baldwin County, okay? And if there was Klan, I would know because they would have come knocked on my door and said, hey, you're a legacy. Would you like to join? And I'd have said, here's my shotgun. If there was Klan in Alabama and I thought they were going to harm one of my black friends, I would sleep at the end of their driveway with my shotgun. There is no Klan in Alabama. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, you don't want to say never. I don't believe in UFOs, but I've seen no evidence they exist anymore or ever existed.
Check out my Twitter
and there
page.
used to be Klan in Alabama. Let's be honest there, but you just don't really see any evidence of them doing it. You think they'd be doing crimes or political rallies or something, but
my
it
dad
never happened. Doesn't
bootleggers
happen.
and Baptists.
Sir?
My daddy used to use the term bootleggers and Baptists. You remember that one? Why the bootleggers give money to the Baptists? Because they want to keep it illegal. It makes great money. So trumping up the Klan definitely helps out the SPLC.
Yes, it does. Well, I thought that was so. Do you know John Wall, or as I like to call him, Buffalo Bill?
Jeez, there's a belch from a bad onion. Yes, I know John Wall.
Yes, and he grows butterflies for a living, like the
Somebody
the
has to
slasher
grow the butterflies.
in Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, right. And the other thing is, The only schooling he ever had was like Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies. You know, Granny taught him up on the main. Granny's a smart lady.
Some
But
of
she
the smartest
graduated from
people
the-
in our country were homeschooled.
Okay, but then they go to like college and stuff like that. So anyway, this is our new congressional map. So this vote we're going to have tomorrow, you're just kind of throwing your vote away on that one because we're going to have a special election in July, August.
August
When is
11th.
August 11th. That's
Okay.
just for 4 congressional
There you
districts.
go.
1,
1,
2,
2,
6,
6,
and
and
7,
7.
and 2 Senate districts in Montgomery and Elmore County.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the quote that we started the podcast with, everyone remembers it, how it said, hey, this is our position, but if you show us that our position is wrong, we're willing to change our position. Sounds pretty reasonable, huh?
It do.
So what if I told you that's an excerpt from the meeting of the Baldwin County chapter of the American Repatriation Association in 1855? They were talking about sending all the free blacks back to Liberia.
1855. You bet.
Yep.
Lincoln was a big fan of that as well, as I recall.
So anyway, that's my
And if you've ever
grandfather.
read the history of Liberia, it was kind of a debacle.
So
But
anyway, that
obviously
was,
the Liberians didn't want to have a whole bunch of Americans being released, taking over their country.
yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work.
But
The
these
natives
people,
are like, yeah, no, we're being invaded here.
yeah, but then these people turned into the Knights of Pythia and tried to stop the war. And anyway, it's a long story. But here's how my grandfather lays out in the history of jurisprudence. And you can see my 11th great grandfather one of them was Sir Michael Hall. And then you get to the biggie, man. Have you ever heard of this guy? He's also Judge Hall's ancestor and mine. The righteous, honorable Sir Edward Coke.
Coke? Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? So anyway, he's the one that established common law and told the king that, yeah, no more Star Chamber stuff, and we're enforcing the Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights of 1689. So lots of lawyers in the family, John. Lots of lawyers in the family. So, Brandon, I've made my pitch to vote against all the incumbents and told everybody why. Anybody who would hire these people obviously is incompetent. I'll give Professor Sophocleus the last word here, and then you can chime in, Brandon.
Well, if you're talking about incumbents that are worth voting for, I can come up with one, right? Young Boozer, I've always thought pretty well of. But maybe
Yeah, his
barking up the wrong
stand
tree.
that we would be in a financial mess if we loaned basically we'd be burning $50 million if we loaned it to Birmingham Southern College. I think he was right on the dime there.
Okay. Well,
That
as far
was
as
a very courageous stand on the part of the treasurer.
it was, but they amended the Constitution of 1901 and called it the Constitution of 2022. They took out section 93, 94, and 95, which 93 says you can't lend the state's credit, nor any subdivision of the state thereof, meaning cities or counties or utility boards or any of that, to an individual. Then 94 is a private enterprise, and number 95 is invest in a foreign currency or country. So when they did away with that, I would say you are right, but Young Boozer used our sovereign wealth fund, also known as the Education Trust Fund, and invested a bunch of
That's
money.
not the Education Trust Fund. It's the Alabama Trust Fund. We have multiple trust funds.
Okay.
The
Well,
Education
anyway,
Trust Fund is just the current budget for education. There's no money there.
well,
other than whatever the cash
he didn't
balance
buy bonds that were issued by the New York Port Authority to rebuild the 9/11 site. He invested in Israeli bonds, foreign bonds from another country.
which is probably
And-
more trustworthy than if they were written by some of these Alabama sewer authorities.
Okay, well, the Alabama sewer authorities are going crazy, and there's a Big Mike Steakhouse in downtown Bay Minette that was built with this money. There's a strip mall going in, and you can just guess who got the engineering work. You can just guess who got the architecture work, and you can just guess who did all the construction work.
All right, still, you beat my two aces, so tell me about Steve Lawley then.
Ooh, I don't really have
Well, we're
any.
waiting.
I don't have any negatives. I mean, what should I know?
I'm just, man, you blew away my one incumbent. I thought I might get you.
No, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about his record that's come to my attention. Let's put it that way. It's kind of like Wadsworth being in the legislature all these years. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that guy. He's always, standing over in the corner and, mild-mannered and
Now,
well-behaved.
if you attend the Judiciary Committee meetings, he is the vice chairman of that and very active in the bills that go through that committee.
Right, but he's never.
High likelihood he'll be the chairman.
But he didn't try to kill the rewrite of the ethics code or anything like that would have brought him.
Well, I mean, the ethics code did die.
Well, somebody objected to it.
In other words, it never got as far as the Judiciary Committee. It died in the Ethics Committee and in the House. But yeah, that was a debacle.
Can you kill something that's dead?
Boy, wouldn't that be easier? So John, Lee County is really exploding, kind of like Huntsville.
Almost like Baldwin.
Yeah, and Baldwin. I know Smith Station was like the fastest growing place per capita in the world for a minute there. How are things? Has everything? Is it a metroplex yet? Has everything grown? Auburn and Opelika just morphed together?
The cancer has metastasized out to me in Beauregard. As you know, Auburn Opelika have been the Sodom and Gomorrah of East Alabama, tight as a tick for as long as anybody can remember. And we're back to the same story you were talking about, Roger Rendleman, right? If you don't follow access management policies and subdivision rules, right? 3 of the 5 on the commission were developers. And they did everything they could not to incur the cost of their developing and put it on the back of citizens. And right, when you're subsidized, expect hyper growth.
But didn't the state benefit from the hyper growth in Baldwin County, in Lee County, Shelby County, Madison County, and Limestone County? That's basically what we've been living on for a decade.
With all due respect, Brandon, I care about the quality of life of the general public. I don't give a crap about a bloated state.
Well, I mean, the state budget has been booming, and we're one of the fastest growing states now, thanks to, really to about 7 or 8 counties that, have been very, I'll call it, developer friendly.
Sure. And those chickens are going to come home to roost the next contraction.
Oh, and might I add, so all of the tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers for, like, say, Lincoln's Honda plant and whatever, Hyundai, Mercedes, whatever, all those subsidiaries are Chinese-owned companies. They didn't loan Harry and Brandon and John a bunch of money to go make an airbag plant. No, it's a Chinese company, and they pay their people pennies and work them like slaves, just like they do in China.
I
But now
prefer not
most of
to
these
subsidize the
companies
growth.
were tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers in other countries. That, with most of the companies that, especially our automotive companies, are all foreign companies, and they have foreign suppliers whom, for convenience sake, built factories near the company that they work with. And of course, they didn't want American companies because American companies would brought the UAW with them. And I can understand why a corporation would just assume, yeah, no.
Well,
Not doing
so,
UAW.
so John, during my time in solitude, hiding out here in Seminole, Alabama, I wasn't building bombs. I was woodworking, and I've made a paddle over here, like out of a solid cherry tree, made a kayak paddle and a bunch of walking sticks. So if you're hobbling around, let me know and I'll send you one, because I can get rid. I got 25 of these damn things leaned up on every damn corner. And Pam
I
says,
got a
"Yeah,
few
yeah,
folks that'd love you to use that paddle on.
I bet." Okay, well, everybody, I really appreciate it. This is going to be our election day special that'll come out tomorrow morning. So I'll let you know when it's up, John. Thank you for your time.
Well, one last question, Harry. There was a guy down there that I thought was fighting corruption in the sheriff's, Charlie Wyckoff. Does that name ring a bell?
It does. And
and what's he up to? What's he doing?
He probably me rather not say. I
Okay.
bet he's helping McKenzie put out signs right now. That's what I bet he's doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
enough said.
Enough said. Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having me
Harry.
again.
Thanks for being on, John.
You bet.
Okay, so I need to finish my story. So, all this has happened before, and it will happen again. 68 Ventures takes over Baldwin County. They capture all the political whatnot, right? So you ever heard of the single tax colony in Fairhope that was started by a bunch of Quaker communists?
Vaguely.
So around the turn of the century, so Judge Hall, Granddaddy Hall, was the probate judge, and he got paid because people paid recording fees.
Right.
So some guy came down from Chicago, and there's a house built on his lot, and he comes to the judge and he goes, "Hey man, I got this deed here," and they look in the deed book. No, this belongs to the single tax colony, and they've leased it to this guy for 99 years. So anyway, this happens 3 or 4 more times. And he goes, "Well, shit, ain't nobody else got the keys to this place but the sheriff, and I'm starving to death because nobody's paying me my recording fees." So guess what these, it's like the Lone Ranger. So him and a bunch of his friends set a bunch of boats on fire in Orange Beach. So the sheriff and all his asshole buddies head that way. And they just show up and they steal all the damn records. And then they, with private money, build the courthouse in Bay Minette. When they get done, they go to the legislature and say, "Man, we really need to reopen the courthouse. Would y'all move the seat up here to where we just, with private money, built this new courthouse? And by the way, can we give the attorney general," and of course the sheriff got run out of office over it, right? So anyway, now we've got 68 Venture. What's the difference? They're in Daphne. They're in Fairhope.
Sounds similar, don't it?
Now, all this has happened before, man. My family was here, and I'm not I'm not Charles Hall. I started a podcast. I'm a real P-word compared to this guy. Okay?
Mark Twain say history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure do rhyme.
It sure does rhyme. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this going, well, where the hell can I move the courthouse to? And who's going to help me? Now that the sheriff has machine guns and flock cameras, and it'll be pretty hard for Harry to create a diversion by setting an old derelict boat on fire in Orange Beach. They said it was a pirate attack, and somebody believed them. Got a posse together and rode for Orange Beach.
That's funny.
Sounds like every sheriff I ever met. Of course, Judge Hall's brother was the sheriff, and he was the president of the Repatriation Association in 1855. Judge Hall was the scrivener. He's the one that wrote that. So anyway, that's the end of the story, and that's what I didn't get out before we ended our call. My fault.
Now we will move into citizen comments. We have a couple of people signed up to address the council. We will start with Ms. Pam Traylor. As you approach, there is on the right side, you can just hit the button, it'll come turn red, and then you will give a speak in the mic.
I am here to formally request a pardon by the mayor for my fiance, Harry Stolford, for which both he and my dog were physically and verbally attacked. I'm speaking on his behalf, as the conditions of his bond prevent him from attending this meeting. This request follows 2 previous email attempts to meet with Mayor Brown, the first of which was rejected, and the second of which remains unacknowledged. Following the incident in question, Mr. Steele was jailed overnight and required to undergo a mental evaluation for defending himself. Since then, documents detailing his alleged behavior have disappeared from the clerk's office and court records. Despite audio evidence of an individual threatening to kill both Mr. Steele and my dog, no action has been taken against the attacker, who remains a member of this council. I am demanding a formal investigation into the following: the grounds for what I believe was an illegal arrest, the failure to provide medical attention, or the opportunity for Mr. Steele to provide a statement, the disappearance of official court records, videos, and filings related to this case. I request that Mr. Steele be pardoned and that the attacker be held accountable. I do have a pardon with me that was done, and I have it for you to sign.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have
I agree with everything that Pam said. I never imagined any member of my family would be treated like this. Harry has always given back to his community. As a Key Club president and as an Eagle Scout. When Harry ran for mayor 5 years ago, he was stopped and denied entry by the police chief when trying to see a client who was incarcerated. My son and his fiancee moved from Bay Minette because of harassment from city officials, both current and former. My son started a podcast to exercise his First Amendment right of free speech, which is the opposite of violence. I request a pardon for my son in the case of misdemeanor assault.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Mr. Paul Ritter.
Mayor, council. I met Harry about 10, 12 years ago. I have a consumer group. It's called the RIP Report. It's not for profit. I help people that get into different types of difficulties, a lot of them involving the law. You try to hire an attorney to Harry has always been the one that stepped up. In the last 8 or 9 years, we have a half a dozen, maybe even 10 cases that have involved the Baldwin County Sheriff's Department. Previously, Al Colbert here. O.J. French case, we got a lot of pushback on our support of trying to get out what happened there. So a lot of this that I see is retaliation for him sticking his nose in where he is doing his job. There's no other attorney that volunteers to do the stuff that we do. None. Because they don't get money. We have a wrongful conviction of a man that's in home prison for 20 years. Harry has been the intermediary that takes us up there so we can have visitation to represent. You'll be reading about that case if it's not a documentary. One of the things I want to really gets me is a lot of my political stuff has happened in Federal. That's where I started. And we had a case called the McSherry case where a lounge owner had beat up a woman, then another woman, then another woman, then threatened a man, and then another woman. Mr. McDowell was the prosecutor at the time. This is on tape, what I'm telling you, at a council meeting. And he let the charges drop 2 to 3 times. Mr. McDowell has had 5 different bar complaints filed by Harry Steele in the past years. What kind of justice is it that he's the judge that's gonna judge Harry when he knows Harry has been, giving him hell on the other end. That's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. Mayor, I think you have the ability to vacate it or to end this. And in closing, the other thing I will say, I just can't believe that a councilman can yell and admit in court 3 times that he was going to kill somebody that was an attorney. And nothing has happened about that. I don't get that. I don't get that. Even whoever the hell's at fault, you don't start screaming on a public street, you're going to kill somebody. And then when we're in court, he admits it 3 times in front of the judge, and the judge doesn't even blink. That's not justice. Please think about it.
Thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir.
Rides high on a promise he sold, but his truth's been bought and his soul's been told. He don't walk alone down that courthouse hall, got shadows that move when he makes a call, a whisper here, a favor there, and suddenly justice ain't nowhere. You can hear it humming underneath the street where power and silence meet. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. If you stand in the way, you'll disappear clean. Ain't no fighting back when you face their machine. Got henchmen lined like dominoes in a row. They don't ask why, they just go where it goes. A nod from the top and a life gets crushed. Another voice buried, another file hushed. They wear the loyalty like a second skin, trading their conscience just to fit in. Break a man down, call it law and order, build their empire at the county border. Every favor owed is a chain that binds, every truth buried buys more time. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. If you stand in the way, you'll disappear clean. Ain't no fighting back when you face their machine. The district attorney signs with a steady hand, but the ink's been stained by a deeper plan. Senators smile from the polished stage while they trade your life for another page. County seats filled with familiar names, all tied together in a quiet game. Handshakes tighter than a noose can be, wrapped in power and immunity, and the victims call it justice served to death. It's not one man, it's a web they weave, 1,000 hands that deceive, and every thread leads back again to the same old circle of friends. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. And if you speak too loud, if you're seen too clean, they'll grind you down in that cold machine. Still shines in the morning light, and the town sleeps easy every night. But beneath it all, where the truth's unseen, there's a whole damn world run by that machine.
You better let go of my... I'll fucking kill us, motherfucker! Back! Yeah. Get off my dog! Get the fuck off me! Get the
Hey, that's fucking enough! That's enough!
I'm gonna kill that fucking dog, Harry! And I'm gonna kill you!